This is the Tech Phantom, and welcome to episode 5 of this walkthrough. And in this walkthrough, we are using nothing but a bow. We are not using a shield, and we are trying to get through Dark Souls. And so far, it has been kind of a cool walkthrough, guys, I have to admit. My experiences so far with the bow have been a lot of fun, and I've been able to do a lot more damage than I thought I would be able to. And for the most part, I've been able to figure out some pretty solid strategies for taking on the enemies. This is for the most part, a cheese-free walkthrough, so I'm going to try as much as I can to take on the enemies one-on-one and not try to cheese them too much. I am going to take advantage of the range that you get from the bow, but for the most part, I'm going to be trying to be locked on to take on the enemies. So in this episode, we're going to completely clean out Sens Fortress. And in a previous video, I talked about how easy it is to farm prowling demons with the bow. And this is probably the best example. You're able to lock onto this prowling demon from above, and it's like literally, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. He absolutely has no chance. And this has got to be a situation where the developers probably didn't do enough testing, and if they would have realized that you could lock onto that prowling demon from on top and take him out with an arrow, I'm sure they would have moved them away a little bit, or put a column in between so that you wouldn't be able to lock on. So while we're here, we're going to take out that serpent mage. And if you guys notice something, I did not get the souls, so I thought I had killed the serpent mage, but it looked like I needed to do a little bit more damage, probably one more arrow hit. So that serpent mage is going to be there when I get back. But let's continue on our way. I put on the rusted iron ring so we can walk normally through the bottom of Sens Fortress. And there is another prowling demon. And I'm going to use the same strategy for this one as the one in the Undead Parish. I'm going to block the lightning attacks, and I'm going to stay away from his Titanite pole and just shoot him full of arrows. So as you can see, guys, there's actually two more prowling demons in this area. They have a little bit more vitality than the first two that we fought, but the bow is one of the best options to take on those prowling demons. And if you want to do it a little bit faster, you can put on power within, and you should be able to take them out pretty quickly. Okay, so we're going up this long ladder, and on top of this ladder there is going to be a corpse with an item. But before we get that item, we're gonna break through this illusory wall and come up to this patio, or to this level here. And here we see the giant, and there are three giants in Sens Fortress. This is actually the giant that opened up the door to Sens Fortress, and you see him during the cutscene that you get after you defeat Quelaag. So this is actually a pretty significant milestone in the game. You can't proceed to Sens Fortress until after you've killed Quelaag and you've rang the bell. You've rang the second bell. And when you ring the second bell, that is the signal for this giant to pull on the chain and to open up the door to Sens Fortress. And you saw that because we had a lot of space up in that area, the giant was pretty easy to take out. So now we're going to pick up that soul item. And there's another serpent soldier blocking the path, so I'm gonna try to pull him. I don't know if he's coming yet. I think I need to hit him one more time so I'm still trying to get his attention here. So the idea here is to pull the serpent so that when he tries to walk towards us, he is hit by one of the guillotines and he gets pushed down to the bottom of Sens Fortress, but you saw that that didn't happen. He did a Superman jump, he cleared the guillotines, and he hits pretty heavy, so this is actually a dangerous situation here. I cannot afford to take another hit, but luckily I was able to take him out. So let's drink a little bit of that Sunny D and move forward. So I'm expecting that Serpent Mage to not be there, because I at this point I think that I had taken that mage out. But as you can see, that mage is going to be there when we get to the top of this set of stairs here. And there's the mage throwing lightning at us. Now luckily the mage shouldn't have a lot of hit points left, so a couple of hits with the bow should do it. So it looks like one hit was good enough, and I'm going to ignore that chest. It has large titanite shard, and at this point I have absolutely no use for large shards, and I'm gonna let that boulder take care of that serpent soldier. There is another serpent mage up there, so I'm gonna wait for that mage to come down, but it looks like a rolling boulder took that serpent mage out. So I'm able to come in here and pick up the steel ring. Now the reason I'm picking up the steel ring is because I'm going to be using light armor most of the time, and there might be a situation where I may want the extra physical defense that you get from the steel ring, maybe when I take on Nito or something like that. So I don't know if I'm going to use the steel ring, but because I haven't played with the bow a heck of a lot, I'm going to pick up all of the rings, and I'm going to pick up a lot of armor just in case I'm in a situation where I need it. So here I am fighting the serpent soldiers, and it's a little crowded in here. They have quite a bit of range with their man serpent sword, so this is a little bit dangerous here. You have to be careful when you go through here. It's actually easier to run past all of these enemies, but I decided to take them out. And I'm gonna do, I removed my bow so that I can do a plunging fist attack on that mage, that serpent mage. I didn't do any damage, obviously, because I'm not gonna do much damage with an empty fist. But when I plunged down and attacked that mage, they gave me the time to run into that little room to use for cover and to equip my bow. And here's some armor. And I think in a previous video I said that we pick up the Black Sorcerer set in the lower burg. That's not correct. You pick up the regular Sorcerer set. The Black Sorcerer set, which is lighter and which I think looks cooler than the regular Sorcerer set, we just picked that up here. And this is a mimic. So again, if you don't know how to tell a normal chest from a mimic chest, you can poke at the chest with arrows, and obviously if it's a mimic chest, you will aggro that mimic. And you can see here, guys, that I have to be very careful here. That's the problem in Sens Fortress, is that the enemies hit pretty hard, and I don't have a lot of room. And I obviously didn't want to back up into this path here because I could have been crushed by a rolling boulder, by a rolling rock. So I actually would recommend running past all of these enemies. Don't mess with the mimic. It might, I got lucky there and I survived that encounter, but it's pretty dangerous, and if you want to play it safe, you can just walk past them. The reason I came down here is because I wanted the silver covetous serpent ring in case I need to farm. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be needing to do any farming, but just in case, because I haven't done this walkthrough many times before, I'm not very familiar with it, I decided to pick up the ring just in case I need it, even though I may not use it at all in this playthrough. We'll see. And out of habit, I turned that lever, and that will make that boulder open up, break a wall and open up the path to freeing Big Hat Logan. But we have absolutely zero use for sorceries, so Logan is going to unfortunately rot in jail. We're not going to bother with him. And you saw me again unequip the bow and just slap that mage, get him out of the way, and just continue forward. And again, if you wanted to run through Sens Fortress, I think in something like probably a couple of minutes, you can make it all the way up here to this bonfire if you just wanted to run past all of the enemies. And it's possible to run all the way up to the boss very, very quickly. And the Iron Golem is typically not too difficult of a boss, so it's very possible to do this level without even visiting the bonfire. And maybe that's why the developers made this bonfire hidden. You have to jump off in order to find it and to light it. But I think the developers did that because it is possible to run all the way up to the Iron Golem from the bottom, from the beginning of the level very quickly. Alright, so here I am going to be cheap, and I'm going to be using some cheese tactics, and this guy's has this enemy, this heavy knight, has a lot of armor, so I am going to cheese him. I couldn't help myself, guys. It is kind of fun to cheese and to kite enemies. And as as somebody that hasn't used the bow a lot, I'm kind of enjoying those tactics. So every once in a while, even though I'm not gonna try to cheese too much, I will take advantage of those cheese opportunities. But I'm certainly not gonna do it against the boss. And here we're gonna take on Prince Ricard. Now, for some reason, he's got a couple of weird bugs where he'll either shoot over your head, or he'll shoot right at your feet and he'll miss you, but you'll be able to take him. So taking him out with arrows is actually a pretty safe thing to do. And if he comes up here, the strategy is to wait until he fires, and see, you can see that he's firing right over your head. So you can just stand here and you can just plug him full of arrows. So not too difficult of a fight. Now, the reason why I went through the trouble of killing the knight, the heavy knight, and Prince Ricard is because I wanted to pick up that rare ring of sacrifice. And there was a divine blessing next to it, but we're probably not going to have any use for it since we're not even kindling bonfires. But just in case, I thought I would pick up the divine blessing. And now it's time to spend all those souls. And this is, for me, this is one of the most fun things to do, is to spend all the itemized souls and to level up. Now, I know a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers that don't use their itemized souls. They actually like to keep them, and they like to level up, I guess, more organically as they progress through the game and they beat the bosses. And they like to keep souls around in case they want to buy items, or in case they need to level up. I don't have the discipline or the patience for that, guys. So you've seen in this video and in all my other walkthroughs that uh, those itemized souls are going to burn in my pocket, and I'm gonna use them right away. I also like to use boss souls. So you've seen me consume Quelaag soul, and I'll just continue to do that. There's nothing that I like more than leveling up. So if I have the opportunity to level up sooner rather than later, I'm going to do that. Alright, we are going to be going back down to Undead Parish after this video. So I need to get the key to open up the shortcut that will allow me to take an elevator all the way up to this area. And you don't need to kill this NPC, obviously. This is the Crestfallen Merchant, but again, I'm doing a little bit of testing because I haven't played that much, and I thought you guys might enjoy to see a lot of boss fights. Not a lot of boss fights, but a lot of fights with the NPCs, just to see what the bow does against them. And again, you see that with these armored enemies, even when they're not holding up their shield, but when they're blocking with their weapon, the bow doesn't do a heck of a lot of damage. So you need to essentially wait until you have an opening and hit him as a counter. Now that's fine. The problem is that if you're fighting some of these enemies in close quarters, and if they have a weapon that is rangy, you're probably going to take 1 or 2 hits as you're waiting for your opening, and as you're shooting them with the bow and the arrow. So that's why it's very, very important to have the wolf ring, so that you're not stunned. Because if somebody like the Crestfallen Merchant stuns you and can clobber you with his greatsword, it's not going to be pretty. So here we have the cage key, and that's going to allow us to trip the shortcut. So now we can go back to the bonfire. And at this point, guys, I have 2 Titanite chunks in my inventory. I need 3 Titanite chunks. That will allow me to go from a plus 13 to a plus 14. But I'm not gonna worry about. I'm gonna go get the next Titanite chunk here, but I'm not going to upgrade my bow. I'm just going to continue to the boss fight with the Iron Golem after that. A plus 13 bow is going to be plenty, as you are going to see, along with Power Within. So there are many sniping spots in this area, and I'm not showing them because, again, I'm trying to, for the most part, go straight up one-on-one with these enemies. But if there is a lot of interest, I can make a video with some sniping spots and with some cheese spots for bosses and for some of these enemies. For example, there's a giant up ahead that you can take out before coming here. So let me know in the comments if that's something that you guys would be interested in. So this giant has the attacks of essentially a child throwing a tantrum. He kicks, he swings his arms, flails them about, and then when he gets tired, just like a baby, he goes to sleep. So you can do a couple of things. You can do what I'm doing and to wait until he's done swinging, and then hit him with arrows. But sometimes he likes to rest at the door, and when he does that, he's completely open, and you can hit him in the arm or in the leg. So I'm just going to hit him on the arm a couple of times. And I'm also going to switch out my controllers here after I do that. So you'll see there's going to be a little bit of a pause, not much, while I switch to my backup controller. So yeah, it's pretty easy to take out this giant. You don't even have to come to this area to take him out. And like I said, there's a spot from below where he can be kited. He can be taken out. And if there's some interest in seeing those kinds of tactics, some of the additional tactics that I'm not showing in this walkthrough, let me know and I can try to put a video together and I can show that at the end of this walkthrough. Alright, so we're going up against the Iron Golem, and he is really, really tall. How tall is he? He is so tall that it's pretty difficult to get a headshot on him if you're close, because you have to swing the camera all the way up, and he's got a tiny head anyway, so I'm not going to worry much about headshots. I'm doing a decent amount of damage with power within and with the large arrows and with this plus 13 bow, so you can probably take him out with a plus 10 bow. So this turns out to be one of the easier boss fights with the bow. There are going to be some other ones that are going to be easier, but really not much. You can't get any easier than this. Just stay away from his range and just shoot him full of arrows. And I'm going to try to go for the headshot here, and I just can't swing my camera around quickly enough to get up to the top of his head. So let's just finish him with a regular attack. So that was the Iron Golem with the bow, and I don't want to say that was disappointing, but I really thought that it was gonna take many more arrows to kill him, but apparently not, and he went down rather meekly and rather easily. So again, there are some situations where it's really helpful to have a bow, and there are some bosses that are actually easier to do with the bow. I'd have to say the Iron Golem is one of them. But the flip side of that is that if you're in close quarters and you're fighting against somebody that's got a shield and a ranged weapon, that's a pretty difficult thing to do, especially if you don't have a shield yourself. And I've talked about this in my first video. I actually did run through the game with a shield and a bow equipped, but the shield was getting in the way, and that's because sometimes I would shoot and then I would try to hold up my shield really quickly, and if the game didn't register enough of a pause, it wouldn't even bring up your shield. Instead, what it would do is it would take you in the zoomed in animation for the bow. So I actually found that it was easier for me to concentrate on what's happening on screen if I didn't have to worry about the mechanics of unequipping a shield and then holding it up after I shot with the bow. Well, so we're back down to Andre, and we're going to buy some large arrows. And again, this is the strategy that I had talked about earlier, guys. Whenever I have leftover souls, I'm going to spend them on either large arrows or wooden arrows. And you also saw me take the bow up to a plus 14. So the only thing I need now to take the bow up to a plus 15 is a Titanite slab. And we will be getting that very shortly. So let's make our way back to Firelink Shrine. So I have to say, so far out of all the episodes that I've shot, that I've recorded, this is probably the least stressful episode. In other episodes, I've been under a little bit more stress, but I think on this one, maybe because I'm starting to get the hang of the bow, I felt comfortable walking through the game, and even in those situations where the man serpents hit me a couple of times, I felt comfortable enough in my bow capabilities that I didn't even heal when I got hit. I was confident enough that I could get off another shot on the enemies. So I think I'm starting to get the hang of this bow walkthrough. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. This is the Tech Phantom signing off.